Hello guys, and welcome to another video in the series of Linux tutorials. In this video, we are going to talk about shell variables and environment variables. Along with that, we will also talk about the alias in Linux. So let's begin. Now before I jump to the terminal, let's first understand some concepts, in which first of all is the variable. Okay, so what is a variable? Variable is basically a character string to whom a value is assigned. For example, let's say the variable name is name, okay, and the value assigned to it is the wiki, right? So this here is our variable name, okay, and here it is the value, okay, after equals to it is the value. Now a value could be anything. For example, it could be any string, okay, or it could be a command, right, or it could be a file path, okay, or there could also be digits and etc. Okay, so in value it could be anything. Variable name could also be anything. Okay, for example, you can also write here, let's say str, okay, any variable name you can give. Now the next question is that who creates these variables and also who uses it, and the simple answer is the processes. Okay, so any process can create the variable and any process can use the variable. Okay, now in Linux there are two types of variable, in which first of all is the environment variable, okay, and the other variables are shell variables. Okay, shell variables, and here it is environment variables. Okay, now let's say there are different processes. Let's say there is process 1, okay, process 2 and process 3, and let's say process 4. Okay, so I am assuming here that the process 1 initiated process 2, process 2 initiated process 3, and process 3 initiated process 4. Okay, now let's say that a variable is made by the process 2, okay, and let's say the name of the variable is ss. Okay, just assume anything. Okay, so if it is environment variable, then all the subsequent process will be able to use this variable. For example, pr3 will be able to use ss variable, okay, and pr4 also will able to use the ss variable. Okay, so environment variable can be created by any process, okay, along with our shell process. Okay, shell process can also create the environment variable, and also note that when an environment variable is created, then the subsequent process can also use that particular variable. Okay, so this is about the environment variable. Now the shell variable can only be created by the shell process. Okay, and when the shell process is creating some variable or the shell variable, then the subsequent process will not be able to use that. Okay, for example, if my process is bash, which is a shell process, okay, and then let's say I initiated any other process, let's say process 2, then any variable, let's say the variable name is ss, which I created, then the subsequent process will not be able to use it. Okay, so the process 2 will not be able to use the ss variable. Okay, so the difference between environment and shell variables is that first, that any environment variable will be accessible to the subsequent processes, but any shell variable will not be accessed by the subsequent processes. Okay, another difference that in environment variable can be created by any process including the shell process, but the shell variable can only be created by the shell process. Okay, so this is an important difference between the environment variables and shell variables. Okay, now let's jump to the terminal and let's see how they are used. First, let's talk about the environment variable. Okay, now let's say that I want to print out all the environment variables that has already been set. Okay, for that I can write env. Okay, as soon as I will press enter, you will see there are a lot of environment variables that has already been set. Okay, other than env, you can also use the command print env. Okay, it will also give you the same output, right? So these are my some environment variables that has been set. Okay, now let me clear it. Now if you want to set your own environment variable, then you can use the command export, and then the name of the variable, let's say the name of the variable is name itself, okay, then equals to, okay, and then the value. Now if your value have some space, then you have to use the double quotes. Okay, and if there is no space, then you can remove the double quotes. Okay, but it is good practice to always use these double quotes. Okay, so let's say inside the name I am writing value as who am I, okay, which is basically a Linux command. So as soon as I will press enter, this variable has been created. Okay, environment variable has been created. If you want to check, then you can write env and then grab and then the name. Okay, you will see the name has been set to the who am I. Okay, if you want to know the value of any particular variable, then you can write echo, then dollar, and then the name of my variable, which is currently name. Okay, so you will see the value assigned to this variable is who am I. Okay, so let's say that I want to use this variable, so I can simply write dollar name. Okay, so what will happen, dollar name is going to be replaced with the who am I. Okay, and then this command is going to be run. Basically whatever I am going to write here, this thing is going to be replaced with this. Okay, so if I press enter, you will see the output is wiki, and also if I do who am I, then you will see output is wiki. Okay, so let me create another variable. Let's say export ls, and then I will define here ls dash l. Okay, which is also a command, right? So let me press enter, and now if I do dollar ls, note that when I want to access the variable, then I have to use here dollar. Okay, so dollar ls, then you will see it is giving me output of this command. You can also see the value using the echo command. So if I do dollar of ls, echo dollar of ls, then you will see the value assigned to this variable is ls dash l. Okay, so now let me clear it. Now if you see, our bash shell is running right now. Okay, so if I do grab bash, then you will see the process ID for the bash shell is 9035. Okay, don't worry about the processes. I will explain the processes in detail in the later videos. Okay, now just focus on the concept that the bash is running. Okay, now if I run, let's say, another program with the name terminator. Okay, terminator is basically another genome terminal. Okay, now if I again run the same command ps-e grab bash, then you will see another bash is running. Okay, and if I find it, ps tree, basically process tree, and then the process ID, which is 10572. Okay, 572. Now we will see our bash shell, which was running in this terminal, has initiated our terminator. Okay, which is another genome terminal, we can say, which in turn has initiated our bash shell. Okay, another bash shell, right? Now if I do here, let's say echo $ls, now if you see, our value is getting printed. Okay, which certifies that the variable that I created in this process is now accessible by this process also. Okay, basically subsequent processes is able to use our environment variables. Okay, so I can also use here $ls simply, then you will see the output of ls-l is getting shown. Okay, similarly I can also use the $name here, then you will see who am I command is getting executed. Okay, so basically subsequent processes is able to use the environment variables, right? So let me exit it now. Okay, and let's clear it. Now after setting, let's say that I want to remove that variable. For that I can write here unset and then the name of the variable. Let's say the name of the variable was name. Okay, now if I do env grab name, then you will see this is not present. Okay, this is log name, which is another variable, not the same which we had created earlier. Okay, similarly if I do here echo $name, then you will see nothing is getting printed. Okay, because this variable no longer exists, right? So this is how we can set and unset the environment variables. Okay, so let me clear it now, and let's now talk about the shell variables. Okay, shell variables are simply created using the name, variable name, and equals to some value. Okay, it does not use the export keyword, right? So I can write here, let's say name, and then I'll give it the value, let's say pwd. Okay, so if I press enter, then this is created as a shell variable, and note that our bash is running. So our bash, which is a shell, has created our variable. Okay, now if you want to access it, again you can use $name, then you will see it pwd command is getting executed. Okay, now let's say that you want to view all the shell variables that has been set up. So you can write the command set. Okay, but it will give you a lot of information other than the variables also. Okay, so to overcome it, you can open the set, output of set in the nano command line text editor. Okay, then you can write control shift underscore, okay, and then press the control Y. Okay, Now you reach at the top of the file and you will see there are lots of shell variables that has been set. Okay, so let me remove from here. Okay, now let's say after this set I will grab the name, okay, which I created, but there are a lot of variables that has name inside of it. So what I will do, I will create name, okay, yes, okay, I'm making any random thing, okay, name, okay, yes. Now I will do set and then grab name, okay, yes, okay. Now you will see the value is getting shown. Okay, now if you want to print the value of any shell variable, then you can write echo dollar the name of the variables. Okay, so I'll write here this and the value is getting shown. Okay, now let me clear it. So if I again run the terminator, okay, and now if I do here, let me zoom it little, and now if I do here, let's say echo of dollar name, then you will see nothing is getting printed, because when we create the shell variable, subsequent process will not be able to use that particular variable. Okay, similarly if I do echo of dollar name, okay, yes, then you will see it is nothing printed. Okay, this variable is not available for the subsequent processes. So let me close it now. Okay, and let me clear it. Now if you want to unset any shell variable, the process will remain the same. Okay, I will write unset and then the name of our shell variable. Okay, for example name here, or let's say name, okay, yes. Okay, so this is getting unset, and now if I do, let's say echo of dollar name, okay, yes, okay, then you will see nothing is getting printed, right? Similarly if I do here echo of dollar name, currently we have the value assigned to is that pwd, but now if I do, let's say unset of name, and then again run the same command, then you will see nothing is getting printed. Okay, basically the shell variables are getting deleted or unset, we can say. Okay, so now let me clear it. Now an important question arises here is that why we even use the environment variables and shell variables. Okay, so environment variables are generally used, for example, if you want to send some data to the subsequent processes, then you can use the environment variables. Okay, or you want to set something, for example, let's say that you are making SSH connection to the remote hosts. Okay, and the subdomain that has been given to you is, let's say 7845.abc.com. okay, and there is also domains with the same unique ID, which is 7845 and then let's say bha.com. okay, and now you are making the connection, so you have to remember this unique ID always. Okay, so to overcome this, what you will do, you will simply write export and then the name of the ID, let's say I give the name as UUID, okay, and then we'll assign the value as 7845. okay, then after that whenever I want to use that, then I will do SSH then dollar and then UUID and then the other domain name. Okay, so in this way I don't have to remember this unique ID. Okay, note that even though we can reference our variable in this form, but generally using the curly braces is preferred. Okay, now we generally use curly braces to remove the ambiguity. Now this concept is generally used in the shell scriptings where we have to access the arrays. For example, to access array we simply write, let's say this is the name of the array, then to access any variable then we have to write the index. Okay, so to make it generalized thing, people generally use the curly braces for the variables. Okay, don't worry about that, the output will remain the same. Okay, for example if I do, let's say echo of dollar UUID, you will see the output is still the same, or even if I remove it. Okay, but it is good practice to use the curly braces. Okay, you will understand the importance of the curly braces when you will learn about the shell scripting. Now other than creating any particular strings, environment variables are also used for some other processes. For example, if you see some of the environment variables, then you will see that the user means that who is current logged in user. Okay, so whenever you want to know that who is current logged in user, then you can simply write echo dollar user. Okay, instead of writing who am I, you can also use this, right? Similarly, let's say that you want to use which shell you are using. So for shell there is a shell variable, here it is shell. Okay, so if you want to know your default shell, then you can write echo dollar shell. Okay, then you will see my current shell is the bash. Okay, so there are a lot of important variables that are used. Okay, in the next video I will explain some of the most important variables that are used in the Linux. Okay, now other than these, the shell variables are generally used in the shell scripting. Okay, now if you want to see one of the shell scripting file, then you will see a .-rc file is just a shell script file. Okay, so if you see the content of this, okay, then you will see this is basically my one of the many shell script file. Okay, so whatever is written here is getting executed whenever I open my terminal. Okay, so if you have noticed that whenever I open my terminal, this string is written. Why? Because I written here echo welcome back. Okay, so everything whatever is written here is executed, and one such line is this one. Okay, that is the reason whenever I open my terminal, that command gets executed and it is written welcome back. Okay, so shell variables are important parts of shell scripting. Now there is one more method of creating the environment variable, that is first we create the shell variable and then export it. For example, currently if you see, this is not exist. Okay, so first of all I will create a shell variable. Okay, name equals to, let's say, who am I. Okay, so a shell variable with the name is created, and currently if you see env, and if I grab here name, then this does not exist. Okay, so sorry, here should be env. Okay, so this does not exist. Okay, so if I do here export name and then again run the same command, so this variable has now been created. Okay, or a shell variable has been converted to the environment variable. Okay, so this is another method that you can use. Okay, first assign to the shell variable and then export it. Okay, or you can also use the combined form, that is the export and then the name of the variable and then the value. Okay, also remember one more point, that whenever I am creating the environment variable by our shell process, then it is also becoming the shell variable. Okay, so if I am writing here, let's say export and then the name of the variable, let's say okay, and then give it any value, let's say any string, then after I press enter, this variable is also becoming the shell variable. Okay, so any environment variable which I created using the shell process is also becoming the shell variable. Okay, now other than this, let's talk about the alias now. Now the purpose of the alias is to indicate some string with some other name. Okay, for example, I can write here alias cl equals to clear. Okay, so if I press enter, an alias of cl has been created for the clear. Okay, so whenever I'm writing here cl, so if I press enter, you will see the function of clear will be executed and our terminal will be now new. Similarly, let's say I create an alias for, let's say, I am equals to, and then give here who am I. Okay, so whenever I will write I am, so the output of this will be printed. Okay, now if you want to create the custom commands, then either you can use the variables, but whenever you create the variables, you notice that I have to use the dollar. Okay, dollar before the variable name. Okay, or you can go with the alias, which I feel better than the variables, because now I don't have to use the dollar. Okay, so I can simply write I am here instead of writing $IAM. Okay, so an headache for using the dollar is not here. Okay, so we had covered so far about the environment variable, shell variables and alias, but there is one problem that exists so far, which is that as soon as I will close my terminal and again run my terminal, then you will see all my shell variables that I created will be gone. Okay, similarly all my environment variables will be gone and all my aliases will be gone. Okay, so if I press enter IAM, then it will say command not found. Okay, similarly if I do here dollar of name, then you will see nothing is getting printed. Okay, basically everything was just for temporary basis, but now we want to make it permanent. Okay, so to make it persistent, you can use the .bashrc file, okay, and edit it. For example, you can see I had created some aliases here. Okay, so let me create a variable. Let's say first of all, let me create a shell variable with the name equals to who am I. Okay, and then an environment variable. Let's say the name of the environment variable is env and then where. Okay, and let's say the value assigned to it is, let's say ls-l. Okay, only single L, and let me just close it. Okay, now whenever bash process is initiated, this file gets executed. Okay, and whatever inside of it is also executed. So those variables that I created there will now again be created. As soon as I will open my bash, these variables will be created. Okay, now to execute this file, there is two options. First option is that I close my terminal and then again run it, or I can use the command source.bashrc. Okay, name of the file. Okay, so this file is now executed. Okay, so let me clear it now, right? And let's close my terminal to see whether it works or not, right? And let's say I'm writing here first of all our alias, that was CL. You will see my screen is getting clear. Okay, similarly let's say I'm writing here $envvar, okay, which was our environment variable. So now you will see the output is getting shown. Okay, and this variable is still persist with the value ls-l. Okay, similarly there was another shell variable which was $name, and you will see the value is who am I, and if I simply write here $name, then you will see the output of who am I command is show. This is how you can make it persistent, right? Now there is one more way in which you can make persistent environment variables. Okay, for that you have to edit the etc and then the environment file. Okay, so this file is used by our shell process to create the environment variables. Okay, so I had already created some variables here with the name and ls. Okay, this path was the default one. Okay, so this file is used by our shell process to create the environment variables. Okay, so you can edit it by opening this file as a sudo. Okay, and you can also create the variables there. Okay, this will also create your persistent environment variables. Now other than this, always remember that if you are using the CSH or TCSH shell, then you have to use this method. Okay, whatever I told you, it was for the SH shell or KSH shell or bash or ZSH shell. Okay, similarly if you are setting up the environment variable and using the C shell, then you have to use this method. Okay, and for the bash and other SH shell, you can use this method that I taught you in this video. Okay, last point, that if you are using the bash shell, then to make it persistent, we were editing a .bashrc file. Okay, but let's say that you are using the C shell, then you have to edit your .cshrc file, not the .bashrc file. Similarly, if you are using TCSH file, then again you can edit this file or any of this file. Similarly, for ZSH shell, you have to edit your .zshrc file. Okay, so according to your shell, the file name will be different. Okay, so keep this point in mind, right? So that's all for today, guys. I hope you like the video. If you have any doubt, please comment it down. Thanks for watching, and I have to see you in the next video.